Hello, friends. I'm Kristie Marcotte. It's always exciting to be on Scrapbook.com's channel, and today I'm sharing a couple of cards using their cottage collection. I love making fall cards, and I fell in love with this collection as soon as I saw it. The main products I'll be using are the new cottage die set, beautiful sunflower, butterflies, pumpkins, leaves, and an acorn. For a sentiment and a few images, I'll be using the pumpkin spice stamps and coordinating dies. And for pattern paper, I have the cottage collection. And for some solid cardstock colors, I'm using the Retreat Smooth cardstock paper pad. For card design number 1, I'll also be using the nested A2 arches die set. You can never have too many shaped die sets, and I love that Scrapbook.com offers so many different variety of shapes. For the background of my card, I'm using the gingham paper, it's beautiful brown, cream, and pink color. I'll be layering it on some brown cardstock, and this cardstock is from Concord and Nine's neutral pack. There are, I think, 6 different browns included. I don't have very much left, so I didn't want to waste any of it, and I do need a second piece. So I'm cutting out one of the arches from the center of this brown cardstock piece. I will be layering the gingham paper on the brown cardstock layer. The gingham paper is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and the brown cardstock piece is an additional 1/8 of an inch. So 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. The adhesive I'm using is Scrapbook.com's Deluxe Adhesive Roller. This brown cardstock is fairly thick, so I want to fill in that large cutout arch area. Using some scrap white cardstock, I cut out a second arch, the same size, and I'll inlay it into that opening. That way, the front of the card won't show a noticeable dip from that giant cutout area. I'll put more adhesive on the back, add my card front onto a card base, and I'm leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. If you prefer a wider cardstock matting, I would suggest cutting that back brown cardstock piece to a full A2 size. Next, I'll adhere the brown arch die cut piece, and I'm using Artiste glue. I'll add some around the outside edge and a little bit in the center, and adhere it on the card about 1/4 inch up from the bottom edge of the pattern paper. I'll be adding a second arch die cut, and I use some of the pastel glossy cardstock for that arch. It's like a light tan sort of cream color. And the arch I use is 2 sizes down from the brown arch size. Before adhering the smaller arch down, I'll first add a strip of this pink pattern paper with little foliage pieces on it. This piece is 4 1/4 of an inch by 1 1/2 inches. As I mentioned earlier, the brown cardstock is fairly thick. So before adhering the pink strip down, I'm putting a scrap cardstock piece on the right and left side of the arch. That way, when I adhere the pink pattern paper strip, the 2 sides won't dip down on the edge of the arch. Next, I'll add the smaller arch, put adhesive on the back, and center it inside the brown arch. I like the look of the pink pattern paper strip going behind the smaller arch and in front of the larger arch. Most of the time when I would do this design, I would put that strip behind the largest arch, but this way you'll be able to see more of that lovely pattern. So I'll set that aside and start assembling the image, and this card will feature a pink pumpkin. And this pink color is the back side of the pink pattern paper piece. I'll add a brown stem, just putting a tiny bit of Artiste glue on the back of the pumpkin to attach the stem. And for a little extra decoration, I'll also include a small sunflower. The yellow color for the sunflower is from the Retreat collection, and the green color for the leaves is from the cottage pattern paper. The brown color I use for the center of the sunflower is also from the Retreat collection. I didn't notice at first, but the center of the sunflower moved a little bit, but luckily it hadn't dried completely, so I was able to nudge it back in place. I will pop up the sunflower using a small foam square, and this is the 1 millimeter thickness. And I'll also pop up the pumpkin using the same foam squares. We'll make sure to get good coverage on the back. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. Hey there, pumpkin. Thought that was perfect to go with the pretty pink pumpkin. And I stamped it on some of the solid pattern paper from the Cottage collection. This color is almost a perfect match with the glossy cardstock color. Before adding the image, I'll first adhere a white circle die cut, and I use the nested circle dies from Scrapbook.com. I'll put artiste glue on the back and add the circle toward the top of the arch. After removing the release paper from the foam, I'll add the pumpkin inside the white circle. I really wanted the pumpkin to be the feature element on this card, so that's why I use this yellowish cream pattern paper for the sentiment. And I really just love that it matches so closely with this glossy cardstock color. I will pop it up using more of the small foam squares in the 1 millimeter thickness. Gives it just a little bit of separation from that glossy cardstock arch. And I'll add it in the center underneath the white circle. Before pressing down completely, I'm trying to make sure it's on there nice and straight. For a little extra detail, I'm cutting a small banner and I'll add it in the upper left-hand corner. I just have a small scrap piece of brown cardstock. It's about 5/8 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. I'll start by cutting a fishtail on the narrower side. Then I'll cut the right side in slightly at an angle, flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. I'll put artiste glue on the back and adhere it in the upper left-hand corner. And the very top of the banner is flush with the brown cardstock layer. I decided to add a couple more pumpkins to the card, and I'll use the pumpkin image from the Pumpkin Spice stamp set. I'll grab my rose quartz Misty that has the grip mate inside. I grabbed a small scrap piece of this cream vanilla pattern paper. I'll put it in the lower corner. The grip mate is nice and sticky, so that piece of paper isn't moving at all. I put the pumpkin image more on the right side, and the ink color I'm using is Catherine Pooler's Amber. I want 2 pumpkins, so I'll flip over this piece of paper and stamp the second. Now I'll use the coordinating dies and cut out the pumpkins. I'll cut the piece of paper in half, line up the die, and I'll use my Magnetic Magic Mat and Platinum 6 die cutting machine. So there are the 2 pumpkins, and I'll add them on the right and left side of the sentiment. Put a little bit of artiste glue on the back and adhere them in place. And I'm adhering them down at a slight angle. I have both of the pumpkins angling out toward the edge of the card. Trying to make sure they're at about the same position. Using artiste glue and adhering them on glossy cardstock does give me a little bit of time to get them adjusted. So there is my finished card. I think this one turned out super cute. You can't go wrong adding a little bit of pink to a fall card. Now moving on to card design number 2. For this card, I'll be using the nested stitched scallop frames and nested vintage classic die sets. For the background of my card, I selected the brown pattern paper with flowers and foliage pieces, and I will be layering it on some of the gold mirror paper. And this paper is included in the holographic mirror paper pad, which is still one of my favorites from Scrapbook.com. But first, I'll add the brown pattern paper piece on a dark green scallop frame. I did need to cut down this brown floral panel since it was a little bit too big. This piece is 3 3/4 of an inch by 5 inches. I needed it small enough so you can still see some of the green frame around it. And since I have that large cutout area, I will fill it in with some white cardstock. So this die set was designed to be a frame, but I'm making it look like it's a full scallop rectangle die cut piece. Now I'll put adhesive on the back and layer this piece on the gold mirror paper. And if you want to save some of that paper, you could cut out the center and use it on another project. I'll put more adhesive on the back and add my card front onto a card base. And both of the cards I'm making in this video are A2 size. You'll only see a tiny bit of the gold mirror paper around the outside edge of the card, but it adds a beautiful detail. I'll set aside the card for now, and I've already cut out one of the nested vintage classic die cuts, and I use more of that light cream vanilla pattern paper. I'll add a little bit of ink along the outside edge of the die cut, and the ink I'm using is Distress Oxide Vintage Photo. The first card I made had more of a bright fall feel. This card will have some darker fall coloring to it. If you ever find you don't have the perfect color cardstock or pattern paper, you can always change the look by simply inking up the edges, or you could even ink the whole piece. I will be popping up the die cut using foam dimension. I grabbed the 1/4 inch black foam roll from Scrapbook.com in the 1mm thickness. I'll add pieces around the very outside edge and a few in the center. Want to make sure to get good coverage. And I'm cutting the foam using the titanium scissors. Scrapbook.com has the best foam. They offer a variety of different sizes and widths, and the backing comes off super easy. I always make sure to have a few backup packs on hand so I don't run out. I'll remove the release paper and add the die cut on the center of the pattern paper piece. Since I'm making a vertical card, I'll add the die cut vertically. The foam is super sticky, so before you press down firmly, make sure you have the die cut in the exact place you want it. I'll set aside the card and start assembling the sunflower, and this is a beautiful design. The die set includes 2 different pieces with the petals, and they're designed to layer together so you can have different petals for the entire sunflower. I decided I would add 3 layers of petals to make a really full sunflower. The 2 yellow colors I use are from the Retreat Smooth cardstock paper pad. I'm adding 2 of the darker yellow and 1 of this lighter yellow color. I'm only putting glue behind the center of the sunflower. That way I can curl up the petals and give it more of a dimensional look. For the center of the sunflower, there are 3 different dies. I decided just to use 2 of them. There is one more that's a little bit smaller. I cut both of them out of a dark brown, and this is from Scrapbook.com's Neutral Smooth cardstock paper pad. I'll also be adding 2 small yellow flowers on my card, and the flower dies are from the same cottage die set. I use the same darker yellow for the petals and the same dark brown for the center. The center piece is fairly small, so I did pick it up using the Craft Pro Pick tool. One of them didn't want to really be centered, so I'm trying to nudge it back into place before the glue dries completely. I'll be adding 3 leaves, 2 larger and 1 small, and both leaf dies are included on the cottage die set. I'm adding a little bit of ink along the tips of the leaves, and I use Catherine Pooler's Deck the Halls ink color. So there are all the pieces to finish off the card. I will put foam dimension behind the leaves, but just 1 foam square at the tip. I'm using the 1mm thickness. I'm also popping up the sunflower and only adding foam behind the center. I want to keep those petals loose. I'll remove the release paper, add the sunflower down first, and I'm putting it closer toward the top of the die cut piece. Want to leave enough space underneath for the sentiment. Since you won't see the stem of the leaves, I'm tearing those off. I'll put Artiste glue behind the base area of the leaf and then tuck them underneath the sunflower. Start with the larger leaf in the upper left-hand corner, add the smaller leaf next to it. Then I'll add the final larger leaf on the right side of the sunflower. I've already stamped and cut out the sentiment Hello Fall, and I stamped the sentiment on that lighter yellow petal color of the sunflower. This sentiment is from the same pumpkin spice stamp and coordinating die set I use for card number 1. I'll put glue on the back and adhere it at the bottom of the label die cut piece. Then I'll add the 2 small yellow flowers, one on the right side of the sentiment and the other on the left. If you want to make the small flowers look more like sunflowers, you could add 2 layers of the petals. To finish off the sunflower, I'm using the Chocolate Kiss Pops of Color. I grabbed a scrap piece of cardstock. I'll squeeze out just a little bit, making sure I don't have an air bubble in there. And then very carefully, I'm adding teeny tiny drops in the center piece of the sunflower. And they don't have to be the same size drops. A few of mine did end up a little bit bigger. But as I'm adding the drops, I'm making sure to space them far enough away from the next drop. I like to flatten my pops of color, so I'm tapping my card against the edge of a stack and sort tray. So there is card number 2 all finished. I love how this one turned out. The sunflower image is so pretty. Here's another look at the 2 cards I made using Scrapbook.com's Cottage collection. I love this collection. It's perfect for making fall cards. If you are interested in the products I used in this video, there are links in the description box below. For more inspiration, be sure to head to my YouTube channel at Kristie Marcotte. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks for watching.
For the best experience, watch and shop our videos at Scrapbook.com/livestream.
Everything's in one place, the videos, products, and fun.
Sign up for our VIP text to get an alert so you can join us so you'll never miss a live.
Scrapbook.com/livestream, the best way to watch.